Hello everyone and welcome back to Always Watching. Today we're discussing 40 Acres, and this was a gem of a film. Briefly, the film follows a small family attempting to survive an isolated farm after a series of plagues and wars. The movie stars Danielle Deadwyler, who gives a strong performance as Haley, an ex-soldier with a complicated and tumultuous relationship with her son Emmanuel. The name refers to a promise made to former enslaved African Americans regarding land distribution as a form of reparations. The whole movie is steeped in cruel irony because although this promise was eventually fulfilled, it came at the expense of extreme brutality and a post-apocalyptic destruction. The movie is set in this nightmarish zombie apocalyptic world. We are introduced to Haley, her indigenous partner Galen, and their 4 children. Despite their grim reality, this family does feel normal, or at least they try to maintain some sense of normality. They have family dinners. Each child is assigned chores and tasks they have to do around the house, on top of learning survival skills meant to keep them alive and keep their property safe. The film does a good job of drawing us in to their emotional bond as a family. Haley is clearly the heart of this family, and she's very much focused on keeping this family safe. Haley is this woman that's been hardened by life. However, she still very much yearns for companionship and the warmth of a family. The film is very careful to anchor the story in Haley, and specifically her relationship to her eldest son, Emmanuel. And even before the barbarity of this world is fully revealed, you do get a sense of how terrifying it is, and Haley's character is really important because even before we're introduced to these maniacs they're fighting against, I mean, we do get a glimpse of it at the start of the film. She's very, very much focused on protecting the family. I mean, she never ever lets her guard down. And as an audience, you start to buy into her paranoia because as the movie unfolds, you realize her guard is up for a reason, and her character is very important in immersing us into this world. Much of this film is about finding the light in an overwhelmingly dark tunnel. And I felt like Haley's son, Emmanuel, provided a much needed contrast to her character. Like his mother, he's very independent, very capable, very strong. However, he really is desperate for community. He loves his family, but it's not enough. And it's his desire that brings in both hope and danger, threatening everything that this family has worked so hard to protect. Haley has done everything in her power to make sure her family is safe, but the question is, to what end? The more they step outside of their world and outside of their home, the more they realize that any hope left in this world will only be found by taking massive risks. And I love how the film slowly builds tension because you don't really know what's going to happen and you don't really know who's going to come out alive. Haley and her family have maintained this network of communication with other farms. However, slowly each farm starts to be taken out, and this increases everyone's paranoia because they're not sure if the threat is coming from within their network or outside of it. Everything in this world feels like a gamble, and I feel like the film captures this ambivalence really well because on one hand you want to trust people, but on the other hand you don't want to risk your safety in doing so. By the end, this film really starts to feel like a horror movie. The enemies they face not only outnumber them, but their only motivation is to cause destruction and inflict cruelty on others. They almost resemble The Walking Dead, even though they're human beings. And the film essentially anchors its story in this family. And the film does a great job of slowly unraveling and destroying this family to come at a deeper truth, that even amidst chaos, there's always the possibility of beauty to emerge. I thought the final shot of this film was both heartbreaking, one of the most heartbreaking and simultaneously hopeful scenes I've seen in a long time. I thought the soundtrack and score for this film was perfect. And I think this movie is well worth a watch. I was totally invested. I was totally into it. And so if you've seen it, please let me know.